I hope you are familiar with the term data preprocessing. We have mentioned several times when we study about data warehouse as well as we study data mining. Data preprocessing is an essential step involved in data warehousing as well as in data mining. We are going to study in detail about the data preprocessing and we will study what are the various steps involved in this process. By this material, we will cover two major topics that are data preprocessing as well as data discretization and concept hierarchy generation. I will discuss data preprocessing steps in detail by using session 1 and session 2 based on this particular material, and session 3 will discuss about data discretization and concept hierarchy generation. Data preprocessing is an important step for both data warehousing and data mining. We know that real data will tend to be incomplete, noisy or inconsistent. We will study each and every point in detail with example. What is the meaning of incomplete data? Lacking attribute values or certain attributes of interest or containing only aggregate data. For example, we are storing the information of student and we are missing the values of phone number. For example, it may be unknown or it may be missing value. But we need to contact each and every student. So lacking attribute values or it is incomplete data. Otherwise, we can say another example. If we want to study a particular data based on the age, but the age values are missing. So what is the use of that data for that particular study? So that is the case of incompleteness. And noisy means if we have some errors in data or outlier values that deviate from the expected. For example, age value consists of values that are more than 150. Is that possible in real world? Is there anyone alive more than 100 or maximum we will have 110, that's all. But if we are seeing the value like 150 or 200, that can be considered as errors or outlier values. By some mistake it has been recorded like that. So such data is known as noisy. And the case inconsistent. Inconsistency means we have stored in one place one phone number, and in another record or another place and the table we are recording another phone number. A particular student will have more than one phone number, but at one place one number and the other place other number is not a preferred method of storing data, so that can be considered as inconsistent. Or we can say another example, we are storing the code of one particular department in one place as CS for computer science, and in another place we are recording it as CO. So that is the case of inconsistency. We have to store the data in a consistent manner. So these problems that are possible in real world data. So the data may be incomplete or noisy or inconsistent. Data preprocessing techniques can improve the quality of the data. So it will help to improve the accuracy and efficiency of the subsequent mining process. We will get accurate results when we are handling with quality of data, or we do the preprocessing in a very well manner. We will get accurate results. So data preprocessing is an important step in the knowledge discovery process. The preprocessing steps include four major steps that are one is data cleaning, second one data integration, then we have to do the transformation, and the final step is data reduction. This is the diagrammatic representation of data preprocessing steps. First we have to clean the data, then we will get a refined data. Then we have to integrate data from different sources, and we are storing it into separate single repository, and we may need to transform the data into particular formats. For example, here we are representing it as 2-point floating point format. For example, -2 is represented as -0.02, 32 is represented as 0.32. These are of standard format. We are converting it into some standard formats. So this is the step called data transformation. And finally, we have to do some data reduction. This is done when all the attributes will not be interested for particular study, so that we can avoid some attributes and we can select some of the attributes for the particular study, and we can also reduce the number of transactions. For example, we can reduce the number of tuples. So that is the case of data reduction. So these are the major steps involved in data pre-processing. First is data cleaning, second is data integration, then data transformation and data reduction. Before going to study in detail about the steps, we must know what is the meaning of descriptive data summarization. These techniques can be used to identify the typical properties of the data and highlight which data values should be treated as noise or outliers. So these are used to identify the properties of data, and it will help us to find out what are the incomplete data and what are the noisy and what are the outlier data, like that. To know about the data, we have to do this descriptive data summarization. Descriptive data summarization provides the analytical foundation for data pre-processing. The basic statistical measures for data summarization include we can use statistical measures for studying the data. Some of the measures are mean, weighted mean, median, mode of measuring the central tendency of data, range, quartiles, interquartile range, variance and standard deviation for measuring the dispersion of data. We'll see in detail. So these are the measures, statistical measures that can be used for data summarization. And we can also use the graphical representations for representing the data. We can use histograms, box plots, quantile plots, quantile plots, scatter plots and scatter plot matrices. These are visual inspection of the data. These provide visual inspection of data and are thus useful for data pre-processing and mining. So let's discuss this in detail. We can measure the central tendency of data using measures like distributive, algebraic and holistic measures. For example, we can calculate the mean value or the average of a particular attribute, or we can calculate the median. These are the basic mathematical equations we have already studied. Using these measures, we can find out the central tendency of particular data. Graphic displays can also be used for the basic descriptive data summaries. We can find the dispersion of data using range, quartiles, outliers and box plots. The range of the set is the difference between the largest and smallest values. For example, the range of attribute age can be from 1 to 100 or 110. So that is the range. If the data is having a person's age from 1 and the maximum age we have represented is 105, so that will be the range of that particular data set. The most commonly used percentiles other than the median are quartiles. We will see what is a quartile. It's a percentile value. The first quartile denoted by Q1 is the 25th percentile. For example, first 25th percentile is denoted as Q1, that is known as the first quartile. The third quartile denoted by Q3 is the 75th percentile. The quartiles including the median give some indication of the center, spread and shape of a distribution. So these are the different mechanisms to find out the center point, or we will find out the dispersion of data using these measures. The distance between the first and the third quartile is a simple measure of spread that gives the range covered by the middle half of the data. So the distance from the first quartile and the third quartile can be considered as the middle half of the data. This distance is called the interquartile range, that is known as interquartile range, and is defined as Q3 minus Q1. The Q3 is the 75th percentile, that is more than 75% will be considered as Q3, and Q1 will be the first 25 percentile data, and the middle part, the interquartile range, is calculated as Q3 minus Q1. Common rule of thumb for identifying suspected outliers is to single out values falling at least 1:5 IQR above the third quartile or below the first quartile. Box plots are a very popular way of visualizing a distribution. We will see by example in the coming slides. The 5-number summary of a distribution consists of the median, the quartiles Q1 and Q3, and the smallest and largest individual observations written in the order. The 5-number summary of a distribution is termed as, it will have minimum value, then quartile 1, then median, then quartile 3, and we will have the maximum value. So these 5 numbers will represent a particular data in a better way. A box plot incorporates the 5-number summary as follows. We can see the figure here. This is an example of a box plot. We have 5-number summary of a particular data here. Typically, the ends of the box are at the quartiles, so that the box length is the interquartile range, that is IQR. The box represents the interquartile range, and we will have the middle values in this particular box. The median is marked by a line within the box. Median value will be represented using a line. 2 lines called whiskers outside the box extend to the smallest, that is the minimum value, and largest, that is the maximum observation. For example, we have box plot for the unit price data for items sold at 4 branches of all electronics during a given time period. For example, branch 1, the minimum unit price sale happened is 40, that is 40 is the minimum value, and maximum is up to 150 or 155, and we have most of the transactions happened in between 60 and 100, so that is the interquartile range, and we have a median value, that is 80. Most of the sales happened for unit price 80. So this is the box plot represented for representing the data distribution, and we can use this data representation for analyzing the particular data. We can also calculate variance and standard deviation. We can find out the variance using this particular equation, purely a mathematical equation. The standard deviation of the observation is the square root of the variance, that is that can also be calculated. Then graphic displays of basic descriptive data summaries. We can use different graphic displays for representing the data summaries. We can plot histograms or frequency histograms which is a graphical method for summarizing the distribution of a given attribute. Histogram for an attribute A partitions the data distribution of A into different disjoint subsets or buckets. So we can represent the data using histograms, or we can use bar chart, that is a familiar method of representing the data. We can use quantile plot. It's a simple and effective way to have a first look at a univariate data distribution. Univariate data distribution can be represented using quantile plot. Quantile plot will represent univariate distribution against the corresponding quantiles of another one. So it is also represented as QQ plot, or we can use scatter plot, which is one of the most effective graphical methods for determining if there appears to be a relationship, pattern or trend between two numerical attributes. We can represent the dependence between the attribute values using scatter plot. A Lorenz curve is another important exploratory graphic aid that adds a smooth curve to a scatter plot in order to provide better perception of the pattern of dependence. Lorenz curve is also used to represent the dependence between attribute values. It will represent a smooth curve on the scatter plot. So we will see how these plots will look like by the example. Here we are considering an example that is shown in table 2.1. We have a set of unit price data for items sold at a branch of All Electronics. We have two separate attributes here. One is used to represent unit price in dollars, and the other represent count of items sold. Here, using a quantile plot, we can represent a univariate distribution of a particular attribute. Here we are representing the unit price attribute in a quantile plot as shown in figure 2.5. We have this representation when we plot the unit price in a quantile plot. Next, we can represent a histogram for the data set based on the two attributes that can be represented here in figure 2.4. We have unit price attribute as well as we are considering count of items sold. These are represented in a histogram like this. For a particular range, for example 40 to 59, how much sales happened, and 60 to 79, like that. So this is an example of a histogram. Let's see what is a quantile plot. We can represent a univariate representation with another univariate representation. For example, we can find out the unit price sold in particular branch with another branch, the same based on the unit price sold. So this is represented using a quantile plot. The figure 2.6 show such an example that represent a quantile plot for unit price data from two different branches. And the figure 2.7 shows a scatter plot for the data set. We have unit price as well as the item sold. We have represented the plot as a scatter plot which represent the dispersion of data. A Lorenz curve will look like this. We are representing a smooth curve on scatter plot based on the same example. So these are the different mechanisms used for representing the data summaries or descriptive data summarization, and based on the study or analysis, we can do necessary pre-processing on these particular data sets.